Worry. Got it. Oh dear me. Sorry, I had to go get something. Emi Martinez, I've got it. Don't worry, sir. I've got it. Hello and welcome to the Gooner Talk, back again with you guys and girls for another episode of what is indeed the Arsenal Raw Reaction Show, joining you the morning after the night, the glorious night before, as Arsenal demolished a very salty Aston Villa in a 4-1 victory. Arsenal have been on a journey these last few weeks, and we have been walking or running or maybe even just strolling along this path that is going to, and was going to, in my views, diverge into two different tangents. I didn't know which of the two tangents Arsenal were going to walk down. Was it going to be the XG pit of death in which eventually a terrible result catches up with the club? Or was it going to be the statement victory that saw them win, and in style, in a very big way? And I am happy. I am very, very happy which pathway Arsenal ended up walking, running. Jaunting. Let's go jaunting down on Tuesday evening. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, wherever you happen to be in the world. To all of you in the chat box, thank you so much as always for joining me. Really appreciate your time. Hope you had a fantastic end to the year so far. It is New Year's Eve. I wish you all a very happy New Year indeed, those celebrating. I hope you have a great night this evening. And it's it's ended in a very, 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 very nice way. Darbas, good morning to you, to Kuhn, to Claire. We've got Anisha, Natasha in the chat. We've got Daya, we've got Leroy, we've got Paul, Vivian, Kirill, Shawnito. We've got Rob, Mohammed, and Anish and Z. To Shari, to Spearmint, to Beanie Bun. We've got Dub. I'm seeing a lot of people in the chat box that I don't usually see in the chat box these mornings. Where have you been? It's taken a 4-1 win to re-engage. Is that what's happened? Where have you been? We've been winning games. I know, not particularly convincingly, but we're top of every table. Where have you been, people? Well, I appreciate you being here. So do drop a like on the video. Do subscribe to the channel if you're new around here. Those notifications turned on so you never, ever, ever miss a show like a certain someone misses a handshake. Right, let's jump into today's slides. Arsenal 4, Aston Villa 0. Before I do, I should warn you, I have finally, I thought I'd avoided it. I thought I'd skipped it. I thought I'd somehow dodged it, but I think I've picked up that winter bug and my voice is a little bit horsey. It's not from shouting and screaming, although I will say I probably did break the unwritten rule of the press box a little bit more than I usually break the unwritten rule of the press box. And I was sitting next to Matt Very of the Standard, and I said to him, I swear I'm not usually this vocal for games. Matt's come in to fill the void left by Simon Collins since his move to the Sun. So I don't usually sit next to Matt, but I had to tell him that, I'm not usually this kind of like, it's kind of crazy in the presser. It was a very kind of emotive game. It was a very emotive game for many reasons. And my emotions did go through kind of the ringer through the first to the second half. But let's just say in the end, I was very pleased. Very, very pleased indeed. So, yes. Oh, we are so incredibly back. The lineup was, I think, unsurprising once we knew what we knew. And what we knew going into the game, broken a few hours before the match, was that Arsenal would be without their most important, impressive, and vital player, Declan Rice, going into this game. And we've had this conversation before of any player that you could guarantee would stay fit for every single game of the season and be able to play at the best of their ability. I think we've said Declan Rice has been, for the most part, that player that we want. And so to lose Declan Rice going into this game was so frustrating. No Calafiori, of course, either, still out with that issue suffered in the warm-up or even in training the day before the game against Brighton. So, yeah, incredibly frustrating, and we don't really know too much detail on it. We'll get some more updates from Arteta on Friday in his pre-match press conference. Pre-match press conference. I know it's been a while, but there is the first pre-match press conference of the week on Friday, of the winter period, really, on Friday, since I'm trying to think the last time we had a pre-match. I think it was Everton away. I think that was the last time we had a pre-match press conference. But yes, that will happen on Friday, so we'll get some more updates on Rice and on Calafiori. But we found out, of course, quite some hours before James McNicholas of The Athletic getting the scoop, breaking the story, that Declan Rice would be missing for the game. And Arsenal went with Mikel Marino in midfield in his place, with Jurriën Timber fit and back to play the right-back role, which was very welcomed indeed. And elsewhere, I think the only other area where we were kind of questioning whether or not there would be a big change would be the centre-forward role. Would Gyökeres be dropped for Jesus? No, is the answer. And we'll talk about the striker situation a little bit later on in the show and how both of those players performed. And of course, it was big to see Kai Havertz back on the bench as well, involved with the squad. Will he get some minutes at Bournemouth at the Vitality Stadium, where he has enjoyed in previous seasons quite the emotional moments with that penalty that he was gifted, of course, to kick off a much-needed Arsenal career that only went on the upwards since that point. So him in there. Gabriel, of course, started his first game, and what a first game it was. But we'll talk about Gabriel a little bit more shortly. But we need to talk about the first half, because it was a chaotic, nervy, frustrating, irritating, blood-boiling, if you were looking at it from a refereeing standpoint, first half of football. Yeah, very, very frustrating first half. I have to look and consider how Arsenal reacted in many ways to how Villa was so aggressive on the counter, the way in which they set up. Unai Emery has been such a period of kryptonite. A period of kryptonite? It's just been kryptonite to Arsenal. He's been a thorn in our side for so long. And sadly for him, it's like that meme. Call an ambulance. But not for me, because Unai Emery in the end found himself very much on the end of a thrashing. But it didn't feel as though that game was going to transpire when the halftime whistle blew. It was frustrating. We created chances. There were moments of frustration. There were moments of concern. There were moments of fear. There were moments of panic. But we dealt with it. There were opportunities that we created that we should have done better with. I was getting so irritated with Darren England. I thought the referee in the first half was deplorably bad, utterly, atrociously bad in the first half. He had a better second half, and thankfully Arsenal took the game out of the hands of the referee. But my word, what an awful display of officiating, and he was roundly and correctly booed going in at half time. But yes, we had chances. I always have this fear, right? Whenever I mention Gyökeres' name these days, it's like I fear as though if I dare to say anything slightly critical, about Gyökeres, you just get set upon. We won the game. Why are you talking about Gyökeres? Well, it's part of the first half. Arsenal, and I think Saka as well. I think Saka and Gyökeres struggled to be impactful. I think our movement was slightly off. There were times where we countered, and it was so frustrating when we countered and had time to attack, and we didn't have necessarily time to attack at all. In fact, we had to be quicker. I wanted us to be a lot better in how we attacked Villa and faster in our counters, and we weren't. Odegaard slowed things down too much. Mendy was a little slow in getting the ball out quick enough, and I think we missed Declan Rice in the first half. That was the half where I was like, we're missing him. And Mikel Marino as well. And I'll talk about the red card debate in the second half with Mikel Marino. But just on the performance, I've said this before. I feel like I need to spend time just watching what Mikel Marino does when he plays midfield, because I think it passes me by. I'm sure he is doing things, but I don't see it. And obviously, I'm very busy during the games, which is why I often rewatch the games, because I don't get the chance to see everything. Because if you want an insight into how my match day goes, it's doing a minute-by-minute live blog, writing the player ratings during the game, setting up the press conference blog for full time, sorting out the images during the blog, changing the headlines of the blog. It's very busy. It's hectic. There's 3 articles going on at the same time. There's a lot of typing. There's a lot of looking at the screen, looking up at the game, looking at the screen, looking up at the game. It's hectic. And so sometimes things do pass me by. And I always hold my hands up to that I am not locked into the game as much. And that's why I always try in the day after to rewatch the game. So the day after the Raw reaction show, I've got an even better idea of what I've seen. But Mikel Marino, sometimes when he plays in midfield, he passes me by. And Villa was really happy to kind of play the ball in behind. And Nana seemed to kind of just stride through the midfield at times, unchallenged. And we were a bit fortunate in that first half to ride our luck. And we had to ride our luck because there were some moments where I thought Watkins should be scoring. Saliba with a brilliant tackle towards the end of the first half. And Nketiah made a really good interception in the box as well to stop Jadon Sancho having just an absolute tap-in as well. We defended well when the ball got into those positions, but in the midfield, there was a presence missing, and that presence missing was definitely Declan Rice. We absolutely missed his presence in that first half. And I would say that I was talking about the idea of should Ezra have started instead of Marino. And I still think maybe we would have got more from Ezra if he'd have started, because this idea that, oh no, we would have lost physicality, we'd have lost the defensive battle, I don't think that mattered. I think Villa were always going to win that midfield battle, no matter who we started without Declan Rice. And so I thought instead of that, I would rather kind of have the technical ability that when we're on the ball, that we can just blitz them. We can just take them apart, and on the ball, and when we're in possession and dominant, we can be more efficient. And I think that Marino kind of had the game passing by as a result. But Gyökeres had a few chances in the game. The header that he has that goes just wide, kind of towards the end of the first half, was the only real sign of where I felt his movement improved. Other than that, his movement frustrated me, and it frustrates me when I see people turn around saying, he's not getting service, he's making these runs. His runs aren't good enough. I'll be very blunt. They aren't good enough at times. And when Arsenal counter, I get so frustrated watching him because I'm like, make the run across the defender more. Drag the defenders into the... Don't just kind of jog behind the defenders and wait for the ball to come. Make those runs across and open up those spaces, and then give Saka the opportunity to, of course, run in behind. And yeah, when he did get the opportunity to get some chances, his connection on the ball wasn't particularly great. There was that header, of course, he put over the bar, and it kind of leans into some of the disappointment from the Brighton game. But start of the second half, Gyökeres was very, 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 very important, because Arsenal score because of what Gyökeres does. Arsenal open the scoring, and as a result, I think win this game because of what Gyökeres does at the start of the second half, which is his hold-up play is better. He brings the ball into the game. He plays in, I think it's Ødegaard, who then gets the ball back to him, and then he lays the ball off for Timber, who's then crossing the ball, which gets blocked and leads to the corner. So he was very important, and he deserves his flowers for his contributions at the start of the second half. I know I'm stretching a little bit, but I think he deserves the credit, because it's that corner which Saka then puts into the box perfectly. I mean, you aren't going to see many better deliveries from our right-hand side than the ones that just kind of go so high and then just drop wickedly. It's a nightmare for goalkeepers to try and catch them. And when you have got a penalty, when you've got a set piece, when you've got a corner, you want one man in that box. And that one man that you want in that box is Gabriel, because he just is such a presence. Big game from him, big moments from him in the game, none more so than the goal. So good to have him back. And when Arsenal are struggling and Arsenal are kind of shaking a little bit and they're kind of finding a way to break a team down, sometimes we need to go to plan B. Sometimes we need to open up the door to our other options. And we have got one hell of an option in Gabriel from a set piece. He is so, so lethal. And it was great to see him score. And we had then the foot on the Tigers' neck. And instead of, like we have done in perhaps some other games where we've let that kind of foot off a little bit, well, we needed to see... Why is my camera turned off? That's strange. I hope you can still hear me. You should be able to. But yes, just so, so, so good from Martin Ødegaard. So good from Martin Ødegaard. Wins the ball in the middle of the field and goes straight, like direct drive. And you have to give so much credit to Martin Zubimendi's run. He does this at times where he just kind of sees the space ahead of him into those gaps. And Zubimendi's the pass to Zubimendi is just perfect. So perfect. Tielemans kind of makes the run to kind of block a potential Zubi pass option. But Ødegaard just sees the space and plays this perfect pass in behind. And Zubi's finish is just that of a top centre forward, isn't it? Brilliant. One touch, round Martinez into the bottom right-hand corner. Gorgeous. And Odegaard, by the way, for the second game in a row, and Zubimendi as well, both of them stunningly good. Stunningly good. And this is why I'm critical at this point about Eze and Gyökeres in terms of the signings at the moment, because you don't get free hits. There's no free hits. And Zubimendi is exactly the example of why there's no free hits. Coming from Spain, coming from La Liga, a worse league, coming, of course, from Real Sociedad, a team that is nowhere near with respect to, and I know my fair stuff about Spanish football, but when it comes to Real Sociedad, they don't have a candle to Arsenal in terms of their ability to create, their ability to progress, their ability to do these types of things. With all due respect to them, Arsenal is just on a different planet. And the fact that Zubimendi has come in and delivered so quickly and so astutely and assimilated so seamlessly is a huge credit to his ability and what a player he is. Signing of the summer, for me, zero questions about that. Zero questions whatsoever. And then Arsenal get the third. And look, it's a brilliant strike from Trossard. It's really good work. It's good play. Odegaard again involved. Brilliant whipped cross that leads to kind of the Saka header, which eventually leads to then Timber battling to win the ball. And then Trossard just one touch, bang, bottom right-hand corner. And maybe you've seen it by now because I was working after the game with the press conference and then writing the morning line, which is out now for those that want to check it out. But I found it baffling that this goal counted. And I'm waiting still to see the evidence or the lines being drawn that show me why this goal was not ruled out for offside. I mean, it must be onside because we have semi-automatic offsides. They draw the lines. But I thought Nkapie was offside. I thought Saka was offside. I thought there was two potential offsides in the build-up for this goal. From the naked eye, from the picture that I had on the screen, that's all I had to go off. I didn't have the lines. Maybe you've seen the lines in the replays and in the post-match analysis, and you'll have to let me know. But I was staggered that this goal counted. I was telling the fans around the press box, like, oh, yeah, he looks offside. I'm really sorry. He looks offside. I think this is going to get ruled out. So I don't know how it was. I still am yet to see the lines be drawn to show that he was onside. And as I say, I'm sure he was if it was given. But I was just so they checked both offsides and a handball. But as you guys are saying, clearly they checked more and there was no offside. But those camera angles are so just so deceptive, aren't they? And it took ages. We had 8 minutes of added time in the second half because of that VAR. But yeah, I thought Nkapie was well offside, and I thought Saka was slightly off as well. But clearly the VAR's checked it, and they're both on. But Trossard's goal was just sublime. Brilliant finish. What a player. He is just time after time after time returned. So many people wanted him gone in the summer. I said to you at the start of the summer the window, I was like, if I have to choose between the two left wingers who I'm keeping and then who I'm replacing with maybe someone else, I said to you, I was like, I'd keep Trossard. I just think he's too clutch. I think he just pops up in big games too much. He's too important. And he deserved that pay rise that he got in the summer, certainly, and what a way he's delivered. Sometimes players, they get pay rises, and we see after getting a new contract or an improved terms on their contract, they just fade away. They're comfortable, got their money, put it in their pocket, just like Gabriel did, after the game. Little pocket thing that he did. Brilliant. And that's not Trossard. Trossard has taken that and has appreciated clearly the love and respect and what he's earned and has taken that to another level. And I'll tell you what, I'm very glad that we didn't sign Rodrigo and then as a result let Trossard go, because I just think Trossard's just being so much more impactful than we could have hoped for. He has been excellent. I mean, if you just have a quick look at Rodrigo's numbers this season, 16 appearances in La Liga for Real Madrid, 1 goal, 2 assists. He's only played 500 minutes. He's not playing too often, but 24 appearances, 2 goals, 5 assists so far this season. Trossard is having a very, 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 very good campaign. A very, 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 very good season. Crazy. Absolutely crazy. Love it. But not as much as I loved the goal from Gabriel Jesus, because one chance, one moment, and just the best finish. Massive credit to Mendy again on the left-hand side, winning the ball, playing in Trossard. Massive credit to Trossard again with the pass inside to Gabriel Jesus, who has so little time to kind of take the touch and then swing his boot to curl the ball around Emi Martinez and into the back of the net to give Arsenal a 4-0 lead. I said before I would have started him in this game. I think he has to start at Bournemouth. I think he's earned that right to start that next game. And then a decision has to be made for the Liverpool match. But I think Jesus has earned a start now. I think he absolutely has earned the right to play from minute 0 in the next Premier League game. I would like to see it. I think it's really important that he does. And I love that clearly his one of his family members has labelled his shirt to make sure that no one takes it away. And I can't take credit for that. There was a great tweet going out after the game. I need to find who it was. Someone will know. But there's no doubt. There's no doubt that that was the tweet of the day. Someone suggesting that Gabriel Jesus' mum has labelled his T-shirt so he doesn't lose it. Was it Poz? I pray it was Poz. Because that's very Poz-like to do that. But yeah, amazing. I love that. The fact that someone has suggested that his mum's labelled his shirt so he doesn't lose it. But yeah, he spoke again about God in the post-match interview. And look, some people have a faith, some people don't, and always should be respected. But there's a few players in this game that just use their faith as such an inspiration for them. And you just got to give credit to Jesus, to Gabriel, who both spoke about that after the game. We've got many others in the team as well, and it's a unifying thing for so many of them, it seems. And it's just great to see it kind of, bringing them together and making them better, it seems, as well. Now, the big kind of debate, if you like, was whether or not Mikel Merino should have been sent off in the game, because on a yellow card already, he brings down, is it Rodgers? I think it's Rodgers. He brings down Rodgers as he's kind of striding towards goal. He really has a grapple of him. Rodgers looks like he's in a dangerous position. I think he's quite lucky. Now, the reason why I think he stays on is because Darren England had already made his bed with some of the other decisions. I was shocked that Tielemans wasn't booked a few moments before this when he did a similar action and wasn't booked. There was a moment in the first half as well where Rodgers was pulling the shirt, I think, of Trossard and then got a free kick on the edge of their own box when, if anything, Arsenal should have been given a free kick, which was strange. Again, it kind of leans into Darren England having a bit of a wacky game. But yeah, Mikel Merino, I think, was a little fortunate to be on the field. And then I was also shocked that he stayed on as long as he did after that. And I think that Norgard came on and was solid. Norgard was absolutely solid after he came off the bench and just saw out the game. Yes, we conceded late, but it was a change that Arteta needed to make slightly sooner. And I was a bit frustrated that Norgard didn't come on sooner, because I was like, we're really risking this. Marino's on this kind of on the edge. I just don't quite know how we managed to avoid that red card, which would have been Arsenal's first, I think, of the season so far. Our discipline record has been brilliant. No doubt about that. It's been absolutely fantastic this season. So that's a positive as well. But yeah, lucky to stay on the field. But we take it. We've obviously been a little bit unfortunate. I've been quite a bit unfortunate with refereeing decisions this season, and last season. So we'll take it. How did David Raya save this? This is the still image of the moment where John McGinn taps in. Yes, it's a bad finish. There's no doubt about that issue. It's similar kind of to the Retegui moment when he missed his penalty against David Raya and then kind of put it back in the direction of the keeper. But still, how does David Raya save? How does David Raya stop this ball going in the back of the net? How on earth? 2 games in a row he has pulled off astonishingly, that's the word, good saves for us. Yeah, wow. Such a shame he conceded in the end. And Miles Lewis-Skelly again, I really, with Calafiori out, we don't know how long he's going to be out for. But there's a chance for Calafiori to get some more minutes. I really hope he finds some form again, because I think Lewis Skelly, he loses Watkins. He's kind of sleeping a little bit when Watkins is kind of there and ready and waiting to kind of tap the ball in. I think that he needs to be a little bit more alive to that. And I am nitpicking. It's a big game. It's a big win. I don't want to go too down the negative route of it, because it's a great game. And there was some moments where we need to talk about, definitely, that are worth criticising. But I was like, Miles, why aren't you stop? Why aren't you on Watkins? Why have you not sensed the danger there? And I thought you should have done better. But yeah, mad. Anyway, let's talk about this, shall we? What are your thoughts, Unai Emery? Walking down shall we just say it? Like, he lied, right? He had 2 post-match interviews. I was in one of them. And he said he waited. Did you see him wait? I didn't see him wait. I've had some Arsenal fans reply to some of the tweets I put out after the game saying, don't make this a thing. It's a nothing story. Are you mad? It's a big story. Unai Emery, just sore loser, mate. It's just a sore loser. He just walks down the he lies about the fact that he waited, because he didn't. He said it was too cold. I couldn't wait forever. I mean, come on. He lied in his post-match press conference. In my honest opinion, he lied based upon the evidence that we've seen there. It's a lack of class. It's saltiness. You can sit there and you can jump and scream around. Did Arteta stick around to shake your hand at Villa Park earlier? Of course he did. He always does. And you know what? Arteta gets absolutely bollocked for his touchline behaviour. Absolutely bollocked. I sincerely hope across mainstream media platforms this week that we see scrutiny of Unai Emery snubbing that handshake. And he did snub it. He did reject it. Based upon everything that you see there, he rejects the handshake. Full-time whistle goes down. Arteta just hugs his team and his coaching staff for literally a second. It's barely a moment. Then literally walks away immediately to try and find it, Unai, and he's gone. You see Andrea Berta in the background going, he's gone. It's just poor. It's really poor behaviour. And I love the tweet from Rohan, by the way, who does the Cannon Pod with Alex and George. Rohan's tweet after the game was, again, spot on. Absolutely spot on. Which is the rule of thumb. Any Arsenal fan riding for Emery over Arteta should never be taken seriously. Never. Seriously. Anybody thinking that it's still Arsenal fans that just I can't find the words without being rude, to be honest. Just find the willpower and somehow the brain capacity to wax lyrical about Unai Emery after what he did at Arsenal and how he collapsed our dressing room and produced one of the most embarrassing cup final performances of Arsenal's history. And still you get some Arsenal fans just getting so up their own backsides about Unai Emery. It is only to spite Arteta. It's nothing to do with Unai Emery. It's nothing to do with him. It's all to do with Arteta and some fans' obsessions with Arteta. That's all that it is. It's nothing to do with him. He is a very good manager at the right club. But Arsenal and PSG are not the right clubs for a manager like Unai Emery. He's very good for clubs that have Villa in their name, clearly. Sevilla, Villarreal, Aston Villa. He's very good at that level, that underdog kind of element, but big clubs like Arsenal and PSG swallow him up. And he cannot, in my opinion, cope in those environments. And this result was coming. It's not surprising he can beat clubs like Arsenal. He's done it with loads of his underdog clubs. But, sorry, Arsenal fans that are still just pining over Unai Emery need to grow up and start realising what real quality is. Now, I spent yesterday morning saying a few words about Emi Martinez that, in hindsight, and with the benefit of looking back at how he responded after this game, his actions after full time. Now, I want to preface this with, we have to be cautious, I think, that Emi Martinez, I don't know if we have the full video, because he's already annoyed as he's walking down the tunnel. In all the videos that we've seen, Emi Martinez is already annoyed. I don't know what happened before this. And I am conscious that sometimes that you can comment on these kind of videos in these moments, and then more evidence comes out and something's happened which sparks it, which is a little reprehensible. I don't know if that's happened. So I'm just, whatever I think about this, I am only commenting on what I have seen and what I can see from this video, which is Arsenal fans kind of giving it to Emi and him reacting, which is just funny. In this moment, what I've seen from that video, the video is just funny. And I tell you what, Arteta removing the tunnel and the decision to remove kind of the covering as the players leave and return to the stadium. I mean, what a stroke of genius this has turned out to be, really, so far at least. What a stroke of genius. As long as those fans behave themselves up until a point, I think it's all well and good. We've talked about what is banter in football. What's banter in football, what's not okay, what crosses the line. We've talked about that in recent weeks with poverty chanting, people giving it to players, people booing players, people swearing at players. As long as you're not outright abusing somebody, there is a line to things. But if you're kind of giving him the middle finger, if you like, as he walks past, I think that's pretty lighthearted and fun. I don't think that's crossing a line. If anyone said anything, that did cross a line, then that's a different conversation. But we haven't seen any evidence of that, nor do we know anything about that at the moment. But based on what we have seen, it just seems like fans have kind of just given him a bit of stick, aren't we? So, but yeah, look, he lost his composure. And I'll tell you what, there's a video, I think a colleague of ours, Melanie at Niche Sports, was doing a video before the game where she showed Emi Martinez warming up in the tunnel before actually going out and already winding up the Arsenal fans. He's kind of doing his stretches in the tunnel in the view of the Arsenal fans, loving it, lapping it up. So is this a moment of giving it but can't take it? I mean, arguably, but again, let's see if any more video comes out. Some people have been asking about a ball boy incident. Do any of you know what happened with the ball boy? I've not seen this. I've seen some tweets suggesting, has anybody got the video of the ball boy and Emi Martinez? I don't know what happened. So if anyone can let me know, I would like to see. I would like to see it. Anyway, final thoughts just on individuals before we go to part 2 and your questions. And that's Mikel Arteta. Spot on. Second half, brilliant. Whatever he said at half-time, I'd like that bottled up, and I'd like to have a sip, please, because my goodness me, whatever did go down at half-time saw Arsenal just respond so brilliantly. Not even, yes, we score from a set piece, but it's just the intention from the off to attack straight away, get at them, win that corner, right from the off. I said before, credit to Gyökeres and his involvement, and Saka and Timber in those moments for winning that corner. And then, of course, not when we just scored. We scored early. We scored early against Brighton. And unfortunately, we allowed that game to kind of get away from us a little bit, and we didn't build on that momentum. A number of times we have scored first. And again, it's another example of another game where Arsenal have, scored first and then gone on to win the fixture. I don't think a single game in the league this season that Arsenal scored first in that they haven't won. I'm pretty sure I'm right in saying that. I think if you count the Crystal Palace game where we scored first, but we drew that game, but then went on penalties, we still won the game on penalties. But any game this season in which Arsenal scored first, they've won every single game. And that's why that first goal is so important. It's so important to Arsenal. So important to us winning games is that first goal. So yeah, I just, from that personal point of view, again, and it kind of leans in, it's always narrative around the managers when we play Aston Villa because of who is the manager of the other team. Unai Emery gave me some of the worst times as an Arsenal fan. With the football that we played, with the way in which we just invited pressure on, with how we performed in that final, I'm so grateful that Arsenal decided to make the change to Mikel Arteta. And there was a period during Mikel Arteta's reign, as you all very much well know, where I was a doubter. I wasn't sure. I didn't know if things could carry on. But there's a reason why I don't run football clubs. There's a reason why I don't make rash decisions, because you're just looking at what this Arsenal team does. Huge credit. Massive credit to him. And this is what the table looks like. XG will always catch up with you. I know some of you don't like XG. I know some of you don't like stats. But if there's one stat that gives you the best predictive model of any stat, expected goals is that stat. It just is. Expected goals will always catch up. As Elliot says, the XG rooster will always come home to roost. It always will. Because if you are producing chance after chance after chance after chance and building up that XG higher and higher and higher and higher, and you're just narrowly winning games, there is no doubt that eventually it will catch up with you. And you will put in a performance that sees those chances converted into goals. And that's really important for us. What's also important is that, as of course City still have to play, is that Arsenal have now caught up in goal difference to Manchester City. I mean, look at the goal difference between Arsenal and City and everybody else. It shows you why Villa really were going to struggle to stay in the title race, because what they've got, I mean, Chelsea have a better goal difference than them so far this season. So it's always going to be a real struggle for Villa to stay in it. And obviously here they haven't done that. We need an XG rooster emoji. I quite like that, Matt. I might think about that. But yeah, Arsenal move 5 points clear of Manchester City, who go away to Sunderland today. Tough game for them, but obviously Sunderland are without quite a few of their players. So let's hope that Sunderland can get the result that we need them to. Aston Villa, who Unai Emery for some reason found the reason to moan that they're playing Arsenal, despite the fact that Arsenal, of course, is playing Villa. So I don't really know why. I don't really know why the fixtures are the way they are either, to be fair. It has happened before. It's not a first. But it's the same for loads of teams, if not all teams. So I don't know why. It's just a moaning excuse as to why, coming to Arsenal now. I mean, Arsenal have played more games in the last 2 weeks than Villa have. In the last 2 weeks? Yeah, because of the League Cup game. So I don't really know why the schedule's even being moaned about. Arsenal have had a trickier schedule in the last week or so. So again, very, 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 very funny where Arsenal sit right now. Huge credit. Massive, 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 massive credit. But looking forward, of course, to get into your questions and your thoughts and your feelings. So let's not waste any more time and do that in part 2 right after this. Right, this is part 2 of today's show where we're going to be jumping into your chat box and tackling your questions. You know what? It's dangerous to bring a salt shaker in here because my salt shaker is very much a similar kind of looking thing to my water bottle. And I tell you what, I was very close to picking that up for a second in the panic of the gap that goes between part 1 and part 2. That would have been rather awkward because then it would have been me drinking the salt rather than Emery or Emi Martinez as well. It was a long part 1, wasn't it? 37 minutes, Claire. It often is. Often is after games. We have a lot to talk about. I have a lot to go through, and there's a lot happened in that game. It was a lot to enjoy. But let's now enjoy some of your questions, shall we? I've got some housekeeping to do, first of all. Carl says, Tom, briefly back from the darts. Only a day off. Only a day off so far. Well, I'm glad you're back. I'm glad you're enjoying the darts. I know a lot of people are there and really enjoying it. And thank you so much for being a member for 49 months, Carl. Amazing achievement. Kirill's dropped in a super chat. Says, Tom and everyone here, thanks for everything. It was glorious podcast year. City has many difficult away matches left. We can win the Premier League. And I tell you what, Arsenal played Villa twice, which is really important. We've gone. I think City have still got to play Villa. Chelsea still got to play Villa one more time as well. Villa is done, out the way. No more Villa unless it's in a cup game between now and the end of the season. Arsenal have gone to Villa Park. They've gone to Anfield. They've gone to Stamford Bridge. They've gone to Old Trafford. By the way, Old Trafford. Oh, Man United. Oh, beautiful. They've gone to the Stadium of Light. They've gone to 8th place Everton. They have gone to St James's Park. As the table stands now, Arsenal have been to 8 of the top 10 teams away from home already this season. 8 of the top 10 sides they have gone to already this season. Absolutely brilliant. Wolfer says Villa's 11-match run over after 364 days. Jesus scores. Zubi signing of the season. Leo Trossard's renewal paying dividends and 5 points clear. 26 is our year. I hope you're right, Stephen. Yeah, Stephen, right? And thank you so much for your kind donations throughout the show. And of course, being a member now on the channel for 32 months. Amazing. Thank you so much. Okay, let's go into the chat, shall we? Daya says, I thought Man United were back. Yeah, so did I, but supposedly not. And it's also glorious as well. Lisa says, Tom, please tell the fan base to keep their feet firmly planted on the ground. Yes, enjoy this result, but City are a very dangerous animal, will not go away. No, but I do think still it's important to enjoy these moments, Lee. It's really important because I think the more that in some ways you stay firmly on the ground, that can sometimes lead you to being more nervous. You know, I think sometimes you do need to enjoy the wins more. I think sometimes you do need to embrace the ability to win games, the confidence we have to win games, so that when we are in the next game, that we have that momentum and confidence to take forward. The atmosphere in the first half it started off well, but it faded quite quick, and it needed the Arsenal team to really, lift things. And I want it to be more of both than just one over the other. And I know that the crowd have a lot to lean on with the players, and the players have a big responsibility to lift the crowd, but I just want this more. And I've said this before, I think this Arsenal team is ready for a title race. I don't know if the fan base is. I still don't know if the fan base is ready for these title races. It just seems so nervous at times and so doubtful, so undermining at times as well. And I just hope that we can grow, really, really grow as a fan base and learn to get behind and enjoy this form and this team and this season again, and not fall into these traps. I think Bobby spoke about it on our phone-in show the other day. I think he's absolutely spot on. I just doubt whether or not we're capable of doing it as a fan base. William says, can we talk about Morgan Rogers' comments? Class from him, wouldn't be mad at him for being in an Arsenal shirt. Yeah, I think he said, maybe it could have been a red card for Marino, but at the end of the day, Arsenal were the better team. I think he's a class player. I think that he's going to go a very, 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 very long way in his career. Claire says, there was an alarming stat about our record against the current top 7 this season as well. Yes, that's true. City draw, Liverpool defeat, Chelsea draw, Villa defeat, Sunderland draw. Those results against those teams have been tough. But to be fair, Villa was away, Liverpool was away, Chelsea was away, Sunderland was away. So, and not exactly bad places to go if it's the top 7 teams and you're getting, 4 draws from tough away games. It's the type of thing that City can do at times. Let's go to, oh my goodness, Stephen, incredible. 50 memberships gifted. Thank you so much. And welcome all of the brand new members to the group as well. Welcome to you all. Wonder if you got it. Let us know if you did. Enjoy the emojis in the chat box. We need a salt shaker emoji, really, don't we? I'm thinking I need to make some notes of the emojis that we still need. I think we need an XG emoji, and I think we need a salt shaker emoji. So salt shaker and XG emojis, please. I think I'm going to get on them. But yeah, you can use, if you're a member in the chat, you can use an emoji that we've got. We've got some brand new ones to use. There's some old friendly favorites in there as well, and some brand new ones as well. Right, let's go to Shordino. Says the fan base is not ready for anything, Tom. I've already lost respect for whoever is calling for Emery in 2025. Pathetic. They can't even support the team for 6 months. Yeah, I know. Dara says, I'm only tuning in now, so apologies if you already mentioned it, but what do you think of Emery storming down the side? Yeah, we have kind of touched on it. Just classless, mate. Classless is how I'd describe it. Let's go to Forever and Arsenal fans. His thoughts on rival fans complaining that Gabriel should have been disallowed for an elbow. Martinez, rubbish. Just weak. Absolutely weak. Manny says, what's your thoughts on the need to be the first to break a story? Really didn't appreciate the Rice news now before kickoff. Barry disagrees. Barry says, I can't believe some idiots were having a go at Gunner Blog for breaking the Rice news. So this obviously was quite a big talking point. I just want to say that I think there's a clear distinction here, right? I think James is getting an unduly amount of stick. There is a difference between a journalist doing their job and some hit and miss ITKs breaking injury news. There is a difference between those two. There is a difference. And those that are kind of pointing the finger at James saying he's an Arsenal fan, so much for being an Arsenal fan, are the same people that absolutely laud some of the transfer information that James brings to you. The same people that will retweet or put his name next to a story that he's reported. You know, when we find out that Havertz is in the squad, or Gabriel's in the squad, or White's in the squad, or these injured players returning, why is the energy not the same? Why is the energy different? I don't think it should be. I think that people should be credited for doing good work in journalism. He's a journalist. He did his job. He found that information and he reported. I'm trying to think of the conversation I would have with my editor if I found out some information and kept it to myself. It's his job. As Roy Keane would say, it's his job. It's just crazy to me, the reaction, the abuse that he got. But I would say, as always, most of it comes from social media. I've learned very quickly that social media is never a place to take seriously. Twitter is full of absolute a-holes. It is full of absolute, and I'm on there. So, you know, point proven. But it's full of absolute morons. Like, it just is. It's how, yeah, as Lock by Joby says, how dare he do his job? How dare he do his job? How dare he? We've asked for, Oz says, we asked for transparency about a player's injury and we slagged someone off who gave it to us. It's so true, isn't it? We get annoyed about Arteta not giving us information about transfers in pre-match presses. Matter of days, matter of weeks, matter of months. We get annoyed at Arteta for not giving us information about injuries or clarity on injuries or giving us the team news. And then, lo and behold, a journalist gets great information, reports it as his job dictates he should, and he gets abused for it. The hypocrisy is just on a different level. Different level. And by the way, like, the argument that the story breaking like 4.5 hours for kickoff will give Emery some kind of advantage knowing that Rice isn't going to be in the team. For the record, the lineups come out an hour and 15 minutes before kickoff. So the difference between Emery finding out that Rice wasn't in the squad and finding out from a report, which they would, it would have got back to them. There's no doubt about that. Was about 3 hours. Like, it's about 3 hours. If you think that what has been prepared, plan A, B, C, D, E, is going to be drastically changed in the space of 3 hours, that it's going to undermine Arsenal, well, all you need to do is look what bloody happened in the game to understand just how little of an impact it made. Massive credit to James for the scoop and the story. It's his job. He's a journalist. It's what his job is. You can call me biased if you like. And Jahaya says, but journalists have become unreliable. It's not about finding the truth anymore. Is that the case for James? Can you just find me an example? Because what you've done there is basically just generalize. Can you find me an example, please, where James has been wrong? Where James has put out unreliable information? Feel free. I'm waiting. Because quite frankly, what annoys me most, if it's your opinion, and you can have the opinion, right? I'm not annoyed at people who have the opinion saying, in my opinion, you shouldn't have put it out. If that's your opinion, I've got no problem with you having that opinion. My problem is the people that attack him for it. That's my issue. That's my problem, is the people that have attacked him for it, that have really gone for him for it. I'm not saying you can't have the opinion that it's your view that you'd rather that didn't come out. No problem at all. That's not what I'm saying. That's not what I'm saying whatsoever. Because that would be wrong. I'm not telling you what you can or can't or should or shouldn't think. You can have that opinion. My opinion is that I think those that are gunning for him have attacked somebody based upon a report that they've done, which is their job. As I said, it's not some faceless ITK doing this that we're talking about here. There's no consequence to that. There's no, if you've got an anonymous account, there's no, you're not being paid to do it. It's not your job to do it. You do it as a hobby. You do it as an interest. You do it because you've got some connections. Maybe you've got some friends who are friends of others in the club or friends with players or whatever. You got cool, right? But there's a difference between that, in my opinion, and a journalist putting a story out when they get information, because it's literally their job to do that. And I think the same people that have battered James have also gone, oh, give us the latest transfer news. Who are we signing? Tell us who we're signing next, please. It's so hypocritical. You can't have it both ways. You can't have it both ways. It got under my skin seeing that. So yeah, it really, really did get under my skin seeing the abuse and the clapback that he was getting. Matt says, I disagree. You can clearly see the news helped Emery lose the game 4-1. Spot on. Spot on. Like, it's the fact that people even after the game were still going for him. Like, even after they'd been shown how stupid they were to attack James, how little of a difference it made, if any at all, that they were still going for him, or so proudly standing by the view that somehow what that had been reported had made any difference whatsoever, is mad. Absolutely mad. And you know what? Also, what's like the people saying that it's because it was like 4.5 hours before kickoff. That's better than it coming days before. If the news that Rice wasn't going to be available came like on Monday evening, and Emery had a whole day to prepare, you could argue that is going to be better for Villa. But a 3-hour gap between the lineups being announced and the story breaking, it's not going to make a jot of difference. And that showed. But again, it just baffles me anyway how anyone could be criticizing somebody for doing their job. Like that's the thing for me that is the most baffling thing in the world. It's, as I say, it's a thankless task. I do the job because I love it. I love being able to have an opinion. I love to be able to have a platform to be able to talk to you, to give my views on it. The breaking of stories, the information side of things is part of the job that it's a thankless task. It's a really thankless task. I do the job because I love covering Arsenal. I love talking about Arsenal. I love discussing Arsenal. I love having debates about Arsenal. I love having conversations with fans and fellow colleagues about Arsenal. I love attending the games, of course. I love it. But the reporting of transfers or injuries is a thankless task. It's an important job because it is our job to find out the stories. But it is just a very well-known, thankless part of the job. It really is. If you get a great transfer scoop, then when's the next story coming? Who else are we signing? Thanks, but I want more. And also, sometimes information you get in good faith, and it turns out not to be quite accurate. Injuries are incredibly volatile, right? I don't necessarily want to bring more attention to this point of view, but I think it's important to defend this aspect. Havertz and Gabriel returning. I remember when the report initially came out, I got a lot of abuse come my way because it looked like Havertz wasn't going to come back until until mid-January. Obviously, that's turned out to not be the case, and it turned out to be that my understanding of Havertz and Gabby pushing to return before the end of the year was very much accurate. It's the same that was broken. I think the first person to break it was HOA and of Arsenal as well, but it's information that was corroborated, and so I was happy putting it out there as well. But obviously, there were reports coming out to the contrary, and then now that person, when that report turned out to be slightly, off, that person's received. I don't even want to. I've got so much respect for the person. They're a really good friend of mine. I don't want to say anything negative about them because it can happen. I remember being in Bruges where literally 24 hours before Gabriel Jesus was registered, I'd chased down this story based off Mosquera's injury, the UEFA rule change, which no one was really talking about. And I was like, oh, this could be quite interesting. Now Mosquera's out. Maybe Gabby Jesus could be registered. And so I chased up this story, and I'm looking into whether or not they're going to replace Mosquera with Jesus. And everything I'm being told is no. They're not going to do it. They're not going to register Jesus. And, it's back in the day, like 10, 15, 20 years ago, it wasn't even really a story to say something wasn't going to happen. Like the idea of writing a newspaper article or a story around the idea of something not happening, you wouldn't really do that. But fast forward to 2025 or even the last 5 years, the media is different. The volume of information, the craving for knowledge, and you can see that from obviously transfers and injuries and stuff like that, is so great that it actually is a story to say, at this point in time, so-and-so isn't going to be registered. And then we're in Bruges and we find out that Dalman has suffered an injury and Arsenal are now going to register Gabriel Jesus just less than 24 hours after the information that we were getting was that that wasn't going to happen. And so 24 hours after I put a story out saying Gabriel Jesus isn't going to be registered, something has changed, which now means that Gabriel Jesus is going to be registered. And you end up going, even though the information that you've put out at that time was absolutely spot on, no issues with it whatsoever, 24 hours later, you look wrong. And the same goes for other stories. Sometimes you will get information that at the time is solid and accurate and true. And so you put a story out. But a day later, half a day, an hour later, something might happen that changes that story. A player has a setback. A player passes a fitness test that they weren't expected to pass. Something happens and the situation changes. But that doesn't matter to people. It's just we live in this kind of gotcha world these days where any chance to kind of say, you were wrong, gotcha, you reported this and it's wrong. You might report 15 stories, fully accurate, brilliant work to get all that information. You might write one story that comes from some information that you got, which turns out that story, or that information didn't come from the best place, or, you weren't able to double source it, but whatever. But maybe you put one story out that's slightly inaccurate. You get something off by a week or a day or 2 days or whatever. And the 15 stories that you wrote perfectly, that broke stories that people loved and appreciated, just forgotten in an instant. And you're measured purely by the one thing that didn't go quite right. It's unforgiving, it's chaotic, and it's thankless. So yeah, look, I've spoke on this topic now for probably 10, 15 minutes because I think it's important that people understand just how inappropriate it is to break someone down or attempt to break someone down. James he's got thick skin, he can deal with it. Doesn't even need me to say this, but like the fact that doing his job and breaking that story in a moment where he had, and as was proven to have had, zero impact on the outcome of the game as a result of him reporting it is just so sad. It's so sad that people felt the need to just gun for him online. But sadly, social media is filled with a cesspit of horrible people. So just don't be that horrible person. Don't fall into that trap. Don't join that group of horrible people. Just be a decent person. Don't fall into the trap of being just so mean-spirited and pointlessly hypocritical and contradictory and an idiot. Just don't do it. Just don't do it. Be better. Be better. Be more understanding. Right, let's bring it back to the football. Let's bring it on a bit more to what the game was about. And we might get some of your reactions to that topic as well in the chat box. It's going to be impossible to avoid all the comments about that, of course, now anyway. So, yeah. But I think it's important to address it. And I wasn't going to address it unless someone brought it up, and then a few people did. So I did. Yaya says, hi, Tom. We're on track to get 90 points. Arteta said earlier this season, 90 points gets you the title this year. Do you agree? How many points will be needed? I think 90 will do it, yeah. Arsenal have got 45 from the first 19 games. This is literally the halfway point. They've got an easier, in quotation marks, second half of the season than first half. I think 90 points should be enough. It means that City have to get from their last 20 games 50 points, let's say 51 points. It's going to be very tough to do. So, yeah, very tricky. We'll wait and see, of course, if the result later on, we might be talking about City absolutely blitzing. I think that there is an argument here what Arsenal are going to achieve in the next month will define the campaign. I said before that I think if we beat Villa, Bournemouth, Liverpool, I think we'll win the league if we win these 3 games. So let's see. Matt says, so you're saying there's a chance? I am indeed. Joe says, how many top 10 away games does City have? I don't know off the top of my head. But we can find out. So they've got Sunderland away. So 1. They've got, first of all, I should probably check who the top 10 definitely are. I think Newcastle are now 10th, right? It's Newcastle, someone, Everton, Sunderland, Man United, Chelsea, Liverpool, Villa, City, Arsenal, I think. So Sunderland away. They've got Man United away. They've got Liverpool away. They've got Everton away and Chelsea away. So at least 5 of the current top 10 they have got. So, yeah, at least 5 so far. And we've got 2. City and who's the other one? I can't think who the other one is now, but it's City and someone else. Let's go to Nick says, is Gabriel fine, by the way? Was the sub plan to manage him? Yeah, it was just the amount of minutes that he could play. I think he was fine. Let's go to Odorillo says, Tom, why was Watkins not sent off for the second yellow? For what? I don't know what for. Josh, has any smoke about Waneri getting loaned? Not really, beyond just theory at the moment. He wasn't in the squad yesterday because of all the senior players that were available. That is just the reality of the group scenario. When Mosquera comes back, Lewis Skelly might not be on the bench. When Ricardo Calafiori comes back and Rice comes back, Norgard and some others might not be on the bench. So, we've got to be ready to realise that some players are going to miss out. That's just the reality. Kobe says, I think people need to understand what they are criticising before they're running with any narratives. Indeed. Matt says, Tom, is Max Dowman signing a scholarship contract today as he's now turned? I think he's kind of signed something in a preliminary. I think there was a story about a preliminary terms. Max Dowman signs new Arsenal deal. Arsenal, yeah. So it was reported in October that Arsenal had reached agreement with Max Dowman to sign scholarship terms. So, yeah. Reached agreement to sign with a professional contract expected to follow when he turns 17. So, yeah, that's already in the works. Carl says, with the narrowness of the mid-table league at the moment, I don't think top 10 is a good barometer. Maybe top 8 or even top 6. I mean, maybe, but Arsenal have played the majority of them away from home, Carl, as well. So, yeah. Mr. J says, random question, Tom, how many world-class players do you feel Arsenal have? I think Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, Rice and Saka. Where's Odegaard in there? Where's Zubimendi in there? Because certainly they are. I think Trossard's got a great argument to be among the world's top wingers at the moment. He's in a great argument to be amongst them. So, yeah, Rice, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber. Timber's a world-class right-back. I don't think there's much question there. Calafiori's made a good ploy as well to put himself. But David Raya is, for me, the best goalkeeper in the Premier League right now. And honestly, you'd have to be quite mad to not put him in that world-class category. The saves that he makes, the distribution that he has, he's got back-to-back Golden Glove awards. You know, I think the funniest argument against David Raya these days is look at the team that he has in front of him. Look at the defence Arsenal have got ahead of David Raya. That defence has been absent for so much, and yet he's continued to pull off big saves in big moments. David Raya is the best goalkeeper in the Premier League right now, and it's not even close. It's not even close. Yaya says, sorry I missed the start of the show. Can we just say one more time how immense Trossard is? Not just attacking, but tracking back yesterday. He was possessed. Yeah, he was very, 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 very good. Kobe says, Raya is in the top 2, but he's not number 2. I love that. Nixie reckons Raya, Saliba, Gabriel, Timber, Rice, Zubi, Odegaard, Saka, for me, are the ones that are in that category. I mean, to be fair, world class is a subjective term. For me, world class means that you are and you get into the best, like, starting 11s of the best teams in Europe. So the teams that, are consistently competing for the titles, consistently reaching the latter stages of the Champions League, if you are a consistent starter for those teams, I think you have to be considered a world-class level player, because otherwise you wouldn't be getting in those teams at that level. I think some people say that you have to win X, Y, Z. I think that's a different category. I think there's a level above world class where you go into kind of the elite, the absolute elite level category. And these are the players that win constantly as well. You know, win wherever they go, not just carried necessarily by the team that they're in, but I think that win everywhere they go. So, yeah, I think there is kind of that level above it. Flips says, Tom, what do you make of the religious responses by almost every player when interviewed after a game? It feels like it's happened organically rather than something nurtured rather by Arteta himself. I do agree with you. I think it's a good thing. I've said this, I think I've already touched on this before in the show. I'm really happy with this. Like, you know, I am Christian, but I wouldn't say like I'm a devout practicing Christian, so it's not necessarily like a personal. I'm so happy to see it because it you know, there's no doubt in my mind that these individuals are far more like kind of, you know, in that kind of category than I am. It's not like a familiarity thing. It's just I think a really good unifying, motivational, grounding thing to have. So yeah, I think it's good. It's good. But for the record, it's not just like Christianity. You know, there are several different religions within the Arsenal team that clearly help to ground them and to give them something to focus on. It's not just Christianity. It's important to point that out. Let's go to Gunnar Max says, Tom, people don't realise that Arteta has the most on the line compared to any for us. For us, it's the joy and the relief of winning a trophy at the end of the season. For Arteta, it's his career on the line. You know, it's very true. You know, there is more on the line for him than for us. But for us, it's huge. I think for the team, it's huge that we win the league this season. I think it's so important. I think if we do win the league this season, it can be a catalyst for a dynasty of success, not just a season of success. That's what's always been the thing. It's not just about the first title. It's about the second title, the third title, the fourth title. That's what it's about for me. That's why I've kept the faith, because I honestly believe that we can earn a period of success, not just a season of success with this project. That's why I'm so keen on it. Right. Anyway, thank you so much as always for tuning in. I'm going to wrap things up there. I've got to get to work. So I really appreciate your time, and I hope you have an absolutely fantastic rest of your day. Enjoy yourselves. You can read my morning line. I go into a little bit more detail about the Emery and Emi Martinez stuff after the game. Of course, along with a lot of what this game means, what it does for Arsenal, what it's produced for us, what it will bring to the team. So go and give that a read. It is my most recent piece on the Football.London website on my page, so you can go and read it there. I'll be back with you tomorrow morning, potentially. Should be. But I won't be in this environment. I'm staying over at the in-laws tonight on New Year's Eve. Speaking of which, have an absolutely fantastic new year. And thank you so much for your support and kind words and comments and everything across this year of 2025. It's been a hard year. It's been a hard year. It's been a tough year. Gone through some really difficult moments, personally, career-wise, family-wise. It's been a hard year, 2025. I think for a lot of people, it's been a hard year, actually. I think it's been a really difficult year for a lot of people. So let's hope that 2026 is a step up and a step to that next stage, and to see some great things for all of us in our lives, and of course for Arsenal as well. But thank you so much for your kind support. Really do appreciate it, and for sticking around to the nearly more than 1,200 of you. If you are watching this on catch up, you can hype the video. Don't forget, hype the video. You can't do it while the show's live. You'll have to wait for it to finish, and then re-click on it a little bit after it's finished. But yeah, hype the video. Help us out. Drop a like, subscribe. We're heading towards now 68,000. Maybe 2026 will be the year of 70,000 subscribers. Who knows? Maybe we'll hit 70K. That'd be quite special. But thank you, all of you, as I always say. And stay safe, stay well, stay happy and respectful. And as always, up the Arsenal.